Good morning and welcome to StudyIQ. I am Prashant Pavani. Today is 24th November, Saturday today, and because today is Saturday, we don't have that many articles to go through. Number one important article is looking beyond the optics. It's about India and Vietnam. Then we have this corridor of hope. Now, can you tell me, or can you take a guess, this corridor of hope is about which two countries, right? Just stick your answer in the comment section. These two articles are not that important. One is about Poland and the other one is about ordinance based on, or this ordinance pertaining to this Ayodhya Ram Bhumi, and Babri Masjid case that is going on in Supreme Court. So we are going to focus on this article. It's going to be our first priority. I have added many things, add-on are included in our today's discussion. So let's move ahead. Our pen drive and tablet courses are available for various different exams. As you can see on your screen, they are designed by the best faculties of our nation. To find out more about it, do check out StudyIQ.com. And at present, we are providing flat 60% off on all our pen drive and Android courses. It's going to last till 28th November. Don't wait for last date. Get your pen drive and tablet courses now. Call us on these numbers if you have any question or queries. Now on your screen you can see two maps. One map is of Asia, so we are going to focus on this one first. As you can see here, you find country called Vietnam. In Asia it is here, right? This is Vietnam here. And the first question of the day for you guys is, can you give me the answer of this question, whether this Tropic of Cancer 23.5 degree north line, whether this one is passing from Vietnam or not? Yes or no? This is a very simple question, but for this you have to open your Atlas book. Now observation number 2. If you observe this map of, or this this map of Asia or the world, you find here that two important lines are passing from Asia. I'm talking about tropical lines. The first one is Tropic of Cancer, of course, and the second one is Tropic of Equator. It is passing from this portion here, Indonesia and other tiny countries. So we can say, and you have this Maldives here, so from Maldives as well, this one is passing. So we can say that this Tropic of Equator is passing from Asia. If you observe Africa here, you will find that all three lines are passing from Africa. So that's a bit interesting. Africa is the only continent in the world from where we find, this all three lines are passing from this continent here: Tropic of Cancer, Equator and Capricorn. In Australia you have just one line, right, and that is this Tropic of Capricorn. So these are a few important observations. Now based on this thing you can judge climate and lifestyle and so many various different things, their natural vegetation and other things, if you have basic understanding about these lines and its relation with the temperature and light. Now let's focus on this map here, right? Vietnam. You can see Vietnam as small patches of you can say nearly a plain surface, but apart from that it is a bit hilly and mountainous, isn't it? Now few observations here. Hanoi is its capital. It is sharing its border with many countries, and it's sharing its border with China as well. We can see South China Sea here, so problematic area. Yes, it's not far from this country Vietnam. You have this famous city called Ho Chi Minh. Ho Chi Minh is also known as Saigon, and Ho Chi Minh was a leader of Vietnam. You can find a very important river on your screen, Mekong River. And I have a question for you guys. Question number 2 is, can you give me the name of ASEAN nations? I'm not talking about Asian nations. I'm talking about ASEAN nations from where you find this Mekong River. Beg your pardon. So the basic question is, give me the name of those ASEAN countries from where you find this Mekong River is flowing, in which ASEAN countries. And you can see mouth of Mekong is here in Vietnam and in South China Sea here. So these are a few important things, and it is of course originating from this Tibetan portion of China. Now let me take you through some basic details or background of Vietnam, and I'll also take you through some current position. Like as far as current position is concerned, it is Asia's fastest growing, particularly Southeast Asia's fastest growing economies, and its site is, or the target of this country is that by 2020 it wants to see itself as a developed nation. If you go through timeline of history, then we find that in between 1859 to 83, Japan slowly colonizes this Indochina. China is this you can say medieval name of this country called Vietnam. And in 1940s, Japan takes control of Indochina. In 45, Ho Chi Minh proclaims independence. Ho Chi Minh was a leader, as I told you. You can call him Gandhi, or more like a sort of Gandhi, father of nation, right? The methods were different, but Ho Chi Minh is father of this nation, Vietnam. In 1946, French seek to regain control. Anti-French resistance war kicks in, the first Indochina War, and it spreads across the country. 54, we find that the country is divided into two parts, North and South. South is supported by USA, North is supported by USSR, and this was an era of Cold War, remember? So this USSR and USA were engaged, or were, you can say, supporting different parties here, and it was a very, you can say, costly as well as bloody war for USA. In 75, southern cities fall one by one until communist forces seize Saigon, and in 76, Vietnam is reunified as Socialist Republic of Vietnam. Hundreds of thousands flee abroad, including many boat people. Boat people are those people who are, leaving this nation of Vietnam. And in 79, Vietnam invades Cambodia, and in 95, Vietnam and USA restores full diplomatic relations. USA lost very badly in Vietnam, and we find even today this Vietnam veterans. So it's a sort of you can say very bad or bloody phase in the history of USA too. It was very bleak for USA soldier. So Vietnam and USA restores full diplomatic relations in 1995, and Vietnam becomes full member of ASEAN as well in 1995. Now, between this period, 79 to 95, we find 1986 is important because of this Domo Policy. It's a political and economic renewal campaign that started in 1986, and this is one of the main reasons why we find that Vietnam is, it has in fact changed itself drastically. Our President Ramnath Kovindji is in Vietnam. He was in Vietnam. As we are speaking, he has left Vietnam. So this is one of the main reasons why we find this particular topic in today's editorial page. And Vietnam is first Southeast Asian country to be visited by Mr. Kovind as the president of our country. So this indicates the importance of Vietnam as far as ASEAN nations are concerned. At present, Vietnam is coordinator of India to ASEAN. So here as well, Vietnam is playing a very important role. For over 70 years, we have been close friends with each other. Diplomatic relationship has been, generally speaking, quite good. Vietnam is critical for India's foreign policy as well, because Vietnam is supporting India in its Act East policy. Vietnam is important for India in its Act East policy. Why it is important, I'm going to take you through it. There are a few examples that we are going to focus on, like one is South China Sea, why it is important and what are the things that are going on here. We are going to talk about it, so don't worry about it. Now let's focus on this thing, like what's the core reason why Vietnam is doing quite well at present. Vietnam focused on technology and other things coming from USA, and the way these things were implemented by Vietnam itself played a very important role in changing the face of this country, because there was a time when Vietnam was importing food items, but now Vietnam is exporting food items. So I would say that Green Revolution is a big success, as well as one of the main reason why Vietnam has stood on its own feet. Agricultural competence has furthered Vietnam's entry into comprehensive and progressive agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, that is CPTPP. Now, entry to CPTPP means that you have access to a global GDP of 14%, and it is also believed that by 2030, at present, Vietnam's GDP is expanding, or its economy is growing at 6.8% rate. And with the help of this CPTPP membership, 1.3 to 3.5% addition will take place between 2017-18 to 2030. So that's a good news for Vietnam. Mr. Kovind's visit is basically focused on two things. The first one is agriculture, and the second one is innovation-based sectors. Now, bilateral relationship between both the nations are okay, I would say. Bilateral in the sense, bilateral trade relation, to be more specific, are okay. Overall, general bilateral relationship are exceptional. They are very deep. But trade is something where I would say we are still missing, because it was last President Pranab Mukherjee, when he visited Vietnam, and if I'm not wrong, he visited somewhere in 2015, and 3 years ago, when he was there at that point of time, our bilateral trade was somewhere around $7 billion, 7 or $7.5 billion. And at that point of time, we decided that by 2020, we are going to double it up. But yes, things are incrementally, gradually, we are heading towards 15 billion. But when we compare this amount, this bilateral trade of India and Vietnam with bilateral trade of India, Vietnam and China, then we find that there is a huge difference. Means when Vietnam and China, they're trading, then it's more than 50 billion, if I'm not wrong, or even more than that. So it's huge, right? The trade between Vietnam and China is huge, and they don't have that good relationship because of this South China Sea here, right? So you can see this is Vietnam here, and then you have this small country Brunei, then Malaysia, then you have Philippines. All these countries, Taiwan, all these countries are not happy with China's stand on South China Sea. But then as well, trade relationship are quite good. So here, this is a small indication that we can take our relationship to a new or next level if both the sides are happy to work with each other. And then we have so many common things, like Vietnam as well is struggling with health sector. Out of pocket expense and other things are quite high over there. So back in 2016, when this 12th National Congress of Communist Party took place, a meeting took place at that point of time, it was decided that 80% population will be provided with this health insurance, something similar to Ayushman Bharat scheme. So here we can learn from each other, we can share technology, we can share best practices with each other, and this will bring both the nations a bit closer towards each other. Indonesia has ratified India-ASEAN Services Agreement on November 13. Now you'd be thinking that we are talking about Vietnam, and all of a sudden why we are talking about Indonesia, because Vietnam at the end of the day is part of this group called ASEAN. You can see 10 countries of ASEAN on your screen here. So this is Vietnam here, this is Indonesia, and Indonesia has given its green signal for India's, this service, India-ASEAN Services Agreement. And the benefit of this thing for India is that we will be able to, we'll get more support from other countries, and we will be able to supply our people, or our people can travel to Australia, New Zealand, and other countries of ASEAN who are part of this RCEP, RECAP, that is Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. It's basically about free trade agreement. What we are saying that free trade agreement is not just about goods, but it's also about services and people. So we have always been good with service sector, and what we want is we want our people, right, to find jobs in all these countries, ASEAN countries as well as Australia, New Zealand, and other countries, so that they can fly over there, they can work there, and they can send back remittance to us. So that's a profitable, you can say, thing as well for our country. This is something that has been a bone of contention as far as this discussion regarding RECAP is going on. But now things are looking a bit all right. Things are, means when Indonesia is supporting us, then other countries will support us, and if Vietnam supports us, there are high chances that we will win this, this stand, or this allowing our people to work in these countries here. So this is something that India is seeking. So it looks like in future we will get a green signal from Vietnam as well. Now, so healthcare is a thing where we find this, convergence of interest. As far as Vietnam's foreign policy is concerned, it has always been quite multi-directional. Now, when I say multi-directional, we know this issue of South China Sea in this region. So Vietnam has always welcomed USA for various historic reasons. It has welcomed Russia. It has welcomed India. It is also ready to work with Japan. It is ready to work with Quad nations. So you can say Australia too. And there are other ASEAN countries with which Australia is having good relationships. So basically, there are so many countries, competing to be the best when it comes to relationship with Vietnam. And India has always supported Indo-Pacific region. India has always supported UNCLOS, that is UN, that is United Nations Convention of Law of Seas. And China is violating this UNCLOS. So Vietnam is pushing for it, and USA, India, all these countries are directly, indirectly, suggesting that China or any other country should follow UNCLOS. So these are a few points where our interests are merging with each other. Maritime Security Dialogue is going to start from 2019. Mekong, I asked you this question, the importance of Mekong you can understand here, because Mekong Ganga Cooperation Framework is being worked on, and you find this corridor of Laos, Vietnam and Cambodia. These three countries are working together to form this growth triangle, where India can play a very important role by providing loans that are not colonial in nature, something that we find in BRI. We don't find this sort of thing in India's cooperational model. So we are supporting a line of credit to Vietnam for purchasing defense items, and we can also support this Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam growth triangle. So that's everything in as far as this article is concerned. So we have talked about so many things, I believe, and I'm sure things are clear to you as far as this Vietnam is concerned. Now, the second topic that we have is this corridor of hope. It is about India and Pakistan. It's about this Kartarpur Gurudwara. Now, ray of hope you can find. It all started back in 1995 when Pakistan renovated this Kartarpur Gurudwara, and it was a big, you can say, cheer up moment for particularly Sikh community living in India and Pakistan. And this Kartarpur Gurudwara is important because yesterday we were talking about this Guru Nanak Jayanti, and I told you about this thing as well, that Guru Nanak Ji spent his last 18 years. I was not aware about 18 years. I was aware about this few years that he spent here, but precisely he spent his last 18 years in this place called Kartarpur. And then when you have this Gurudwara over there, so you can understand the importance of this Gurudwara. Now Pakistan has offered, or is talking about, this visa-free corridor between Dera Baba Nanak in India, Punjab, or Indian Punjab, and Kartarpur Sahib in Pakistan's Punjab. So this is going to be a big thing. Now I have question number 3 for you guys ready here. I think question number 3 or 4. Anyways, the question is, can you give me the name of a river on whose bank we find this Kartarpur Gurudwara? So give me the name of that river. It's not going to be that difficult, but it's an important question. Right, given its easy logistics, the 4-kilometer long Kartarpur corridor is a low-hanging fruit as a meaningful confidence-building measures. Now, we have few communal people in our country who hate Pakistan. There are a few communal people in Pakistan who hate India, but this is not something that we should focus on. Right, in future, you never know, you'll be working as a diplomat, and at that point of time, your personal opinions, if you like Pakistan or if you hate Pakistan, that's not going to help. If you hate, then that's not going to help. If you like, then that can help you, because Pakistan is our neighbor, right? We have so many examples. Like, let's take example of Vietnam and US. As you know, that they had a war with each other, and it was very costly affair in terms of soldiers as well for USA. But now they have good relationship with Vietnam. Take example of Germany and UK, or Germany and France. They were against each other during this World War II, but now they are good friends. So something similar can take place here in India and Pakistan, this part of the world as well, because at the end of the day, we used to be one country, we are same culture, so there are so many commonalities between India and Pakistan. So if only if we are able to, you can say, diplomatically as well as very cleverly, both the sides, if we can shake hand with each other, then we can pluck this low hanging fruit, and this certainly will change the way things are going on between both the nations. And we need to change it for various different reasons, from religious point of view, from political point of view, from regional point of view, from social as well as economical point of view. The announcement now is particularly timely with the 550th birth anniversary of Guru Nanak Ji falling in November 2019. And this particular Kartarpur Gurudwara corridor can open possibilities of other corridors as well, like Kashmiri Pandits are demanding, for a very long period of time. They have asked for this Shraddha Peeth that is in Neelam Valley in Pakistan occupied Kashmir. That should be open for them. So this has been their demand. Sufis from Pakistan are eager to visit Dargah of Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti Ji in Ajmer, that is in Rajasthan. And Sikhs from both Pakistan and India, they are well aware as well as they are demanding this access to shrines that are located in both these nations here. So if we find if we are able to find a proper solution for this for this Kartarpur Gurudwara, then we can find demands for this 3 points here that we have discussed, and a few more as well you can add on. There are a few Hindu Devi temples, goddess temples in Pakistan, so we can add on. So this will of course increase people to people contact between each other, but it will all depend on how India is taking this thing and how Pakistan's this peace lobby, how they are taking it, because we know that when it comes to Pakistan we have this ISIS and this army, so they have this the establishment over there, and it is all up to this the establishment have what are the things that they are focusing on. So it's not being pessimistic, but we have to be a bit careful here. And optimistically speaking, this gestures can change relationship or the shape of relationship between both the countries. We find this type of news as well, like on first page of the Hindu today, we find that India protests denial of consular access to pilgrims. And we have to keep this thing in mind, that we should not give political color to this sort of news. We have to sort it out at diplomatic level. And MEA has summoned the Deputy High Commissioner of Pakistan on Friday after Indian consular team was prevented from meeting pilgrims visiting Nankana Sahib, where Sikh festival is now being celebrated. Here this local chap called Gopal Chawla, who is supported by pro-Khalistan leader, and he was the one person who prevented Indian officials from entering the holy site. Now, rolling back is about Poland, not important for you guys. And this one, again, we have talked about Sabrimala, not Sabrimala, but this Ram Janmabhoomi, Ayodhya, and Babri Masjid case many a times. So here, this particular article is talking about ordinance, how it is passed, and why it is important for President to go through this ordinance and understand the gravity of any ordinance, generally speaking. Then this article is also talking about Place of Worship Special Provisions Act of 1991. It's talking about Ayodhya Act. These items are not that important because the case is sub judice and we have to wait for court's order or court's stand. So there is no point of passing our own comments on this particular thing. Of course, communal Muslims, they are asking for Babri Masjid. Communal Hindus are asking for Ram Temple here. As far as I know, sensible Indians are not that much, interested in this sort of conflict. The sensible Indians are more for development, right? Development all across board, and development again is a secular thing. It will not, diseases and other things will not distinguish people based on their race, religion, and other things. And same goes for development as well. Development should be holistic as well as inclusive. So let's move on to latest news item. And good news that we are getting from Kashmir is that this person, basically 6 local militants were killed by our forces, and in this 6 local militants we find one person whose name is Azad Ahmad Malik, and this chap, he is the one who was in fact a suspect in the killing of editor of Rising Kashmir, Sujat Bukhari. Remember, at the starting of this year, we found this news item where editor of Rising Kashmir, Sujat Bukhari, was killed, and this was considered as indeed it is, as you can say, murder of attempt of murder of democracy and free speech and expression. So Sujat Bukhari was killed because he wrote things that were right as well as a bit bitter for this sort of terrorist organizations. Attack on Chinese consulate in Karachi has been foiled, and this was conducted by Baluch Liberation Army BLA, which said it would not tolerate any Chinese military expansionist endeavors on Baluch soil. The resource-rich Balochistan is at the heart of CPEC. India to study drug derived from marijuana, and it's basically ganja, right? Marijuana means ganja, and scientists are studying that CBD is a chemical component of marijuana, and CBD does not cause intoxication or euphoria or this high that people get using this marijuana. So research is going on. Let's hope that we can find something for people who are suffering from breast cancer or some sort of other cancers. Now, Lunar lander faces a crucial test. This crucial test is for preparing itself for this launch, which is not far. It is expected that on February 2019, this time lander and rover will reach the moon. VK Dev is the new Delhi Chief Secretary. Institutions under stress has been said by Pranab Mukherjee. Suicide blast kills 31 in Pakistani market. Most of them are Sikhs. And Skripal attack. UK releases new clips. Oil dips 6% despite potential OPEC cut. And this OPEC cut was this vacuum that OPEC was trying to create was fulfilled by USA. And finance ministry may stick to capital infusion plan for PSU banks. These are your vocabs, and the question is, can you give me the name of this pockets that you find here, what it is all about? Do let me know in the comment section. That's everything in today's discussion. Thank you very much. God bless you all. Jai Hind.